This series of video is a collection of 4 true cases which are real crime versions of Lie to Me. These murderers were interviewed and put on quite a show in front of the camera before the truth was discovered, but their looks and behaviors still gave them away. The first case we're going to talk about is referred to by the media as the worst crime that occurred in the United States this century. The Watts family, a white, middle-class American family, lived in the suburb of Frederick. Both husband and wife had decent jobs, 2 kids, and lived in a big house. Shanann Watts was beautiful and enthusiastic, and she was a local celebrity. Her husband, Christ Watts, was hard-working and family-oriented.
My daddy is a hero.
It seemed a perfect family. They two met in North Carolina in 2010 and got married on November 3, 2012. Shanann once said this on Facebook.
He's the best thing that has ever happened to me.
At the end of the same year, Shanann gave birth to their first child, Bella. In the summer of 2015, their second daughter, Cece, was born.
Say hi, Cece.
Hi, Daddy.
In 2018, Shanann was pregnant with their third child. Chris was an oil field operator with an annual salary of around $65,000. Shanann was an independent sales representative of multi-layered marketing company Lavelle. According to Shanann's information on Facebook, the company hired her for an annual salary of $80,000 in 2016. In addition, the company also rewarded her with free travel to New Orleans, Mexico, Toronto, Dominican Republic, Las Vegas, Santiago, and other places. Shanann was clearly very satisfied with her life. She frequently posted everything she owned on Facebook and Instagram, like her car, their big house, 2 cute daughters, and a thoughtful and handsome husband. In those photos and videos posted by Shanann, Chris always wore a gentle smile on his face and silently played the supporting role behind her back. However, what exactly made Chris go from being a good husband and father to becoming a murderer of his wife and daughters? On August 13, 2018, Shanann, who had returned from a business trip, was driven home by her colleague and friend, Nicole Atkinson. At that time, it was already 1:45 a.m. on August 13th. In the morning that day, Shanann had originally a doctor appointment but did not show up and then missed the company meeting. Atkinson called and sent messages to Shanann, but no response. At 12:10 noon, Atkinson went to Shannan's house to check on her and found that Shannan's car was still parked in the garage, indicating that she was at home. But Atkinson rang the doorbell. No one answered. Atkinson was worried that Shanann might faint in the house, so she contacted Chris and urged him to go home as soon as possible and called the police. At 1:40 p.m., a police officer went to Shannan's house to check. Not long after, Chris arrived home from the company. After Chris opened the door, there was no one at home. Chris said he woke up at 5 a.m. and discussed the separation with his wife. In the end, Shanann said she would move to a friend's house, but did not say which friend it was. But the police found some suspicions, such as the blanket and pillows of the master bedroom bed were thrown on the ground, while the sheets were missing. Shannann's phone, keys, documents, wallet, and the ring were all at home. Atkinson found the medication Shanann took every day to treat lupus in Shannann's backpack, and the asthma medication that Chris's little daughter Cece often took was found in the upstairs room. As the police and Atkinson discovered more and more suspicions, Chris also appeared increasingly uneasy.
Pair of shoes?
Yeah.
They have all their shoes are in the closet right here.
Then, the police went to Chris's next-door neighbor, who had a security camera in front of his house. When looking at the camera tape in his neighbor's house, Chris looked very frantic. He had his hands like this in the air on his shoulder, and he was really swaying back and forth. He didn't say anything, only quite nervous when he was looking at the tape. Even his neighbor had noticed something wrong.
No.
The news of Shanann and her 2 daughters disappearing quickly spread throughout the town. On August 14th, Chris was interviewed by a TV station. His behaviors in the interview provided a very good sample of how people behave when they are lying. In the camera, he kept blinking and swallowing.
Celeste.
When asked where Shanann might be, Chris said,
I mean, right now I don't even want to just like throw anything out there. Like, I hope that she's somewhere safe right now and with the kids. But I mean, could she just taken off? I don't know. But if somebody has her and they're not safe, like, I want them back now.
Throughout the interview, his voice was tight and he seemed uneasy, with a suspicious red scratch on his neck. Typically, when someone crosses their arms, that means they are into a defensive mode and keeping something from people. When he said, "I just want them back,"
I just want them back. I just want them to come back.
he couldn't help but laugh, although he quickly suppressed his smile.
You got to eat that or you're not going to get your dessert, you know, and just like, you're not going to get your snack after. I missed that. Like, it was tearing me apart last night.
There was also a suspected misstatement in the middle. He said that federal officials had been searching around the house yesterday for their remains, but immediately changed his words to information.
Did all the searching of the house and tried to gather whatever information they could.
When the reporter asked him to say a few words to his wife, who might be watching the news, his answer seemed perfunctory.
Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. Like, if somebody has her, just please bring her back. I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here. Please bring her back.
There is a comment under that news video. Some people who lose their dogs could be more upset than him. Next, the police found Nicole Kessinger, Chris's colleague and mistress. Kessinger confessed their affair, but she said Chris told her that he and his wife were in the process of divorce. In Kessinger's opinion, Chris was good at listening and understanding. They started in early July. In July, pregnant Shanann and her 2 daughters went to her hometown in North Carolina for summer vacation, while Chris and his lover went on dates everywhere. On July 28, 2018, Chris and Kessinger spent the night at the Great Sand Dunes. He saved the videos and photos taken during their trips, and the nude photos actually amount to thousands. Chris later told the police that the trip at Great Sand Dunes was his starting point of his end. That is to say, his love for Kessinger even deeper that weekend, making him determined to be with her and decide on killing his wife and daughters. On July 31st, 2 days after returning from Great Sand Dunes, Chris went to North Carolina as planned to reunite with his wife and daughters. But the man who appeared at the airport seemed completely different, becoming very indifferent and deliberately distancing himself from Shanann. Shanann once confided to her friend that Chris's behavior made her feel deeply hurt. On August 9th, 2 days after returning from North Carolina, Shanann went on a business trip to Arizona, filled with confusion and depression. On August 13th, she disappeared right after returned home from a business trip. On August 15th, Chris was arrested. Chris denied murder at first, but as the investigation going further, Chris's activities before and after the incident pointed to a premeditated murder. In the end, Chris admitted that the idea of killing Shanann and his daughters had been in his mind for several weeks. On the early morning of August 13th, Chris strangled Shanann. He dragged his wife's body down the stairs, loaded it into the truck, and drove to the oil field with his 2 crying daughters. After arriving at the destination, he threw her body on the ground and returned to the car. Then he suffocated his 2 little daughters with blankets and threw the bodies into the oil tank. After doing this, Chris went to a convenience store to buy a sandwich to eat. He told the police that after killing them, he felt a sense of relief he had never felt before. When he met with the biographer, the most frequently he mentioned was he felt sorry for Kessinger, not Shanann and her family. He still loved his lover. He even fantasized that one day the law would change and he could be released early. From some perspectives, I believe that his behavior and psychology can be explained. I'm not saying that being able to explain means that he can be accepted or forgiven. If you want to see an analysis video of Chris, Shanann, Kessinger, and Chris's mother Cindy's personality and psychological analysis, please leave a comment and let me know. Next, let's move to a very similar case. The murder's name is Joseph Elledge. In 2016, Elledge started to date with Mengqi, a Chinese girl. On September 22nd, 2017, they got married. In October 2018, Mengqi gave birth to their daughter. After giving birth, in order to take care of the baby, Mengqi quit her job. Elledge was 5 years younger than Mengqi, and at this time, he was in his 3rd year of college and had no job. They relied on Mengqi's savings, and her parents also provided them living coats. Mengqi was usually very frugal, and in order to increase income, she worked part-time as a translator at night. On October 9th, 2019, Mengqi's mother, Ren Ke, suddenly lost contact with her daughter. Normally, Mengqi would FaceTime with her mother around 3 p.m. every day. However, on October 9th, her mother sent messages to Mengqi, but did not receive any response, and she didn't answer her phone call. Out of concern, her mother sent messages and made phone calls to Elledge and his mother, but she still did not receive any response. Helplessly, Mengqi's mother managed to get in touch with a friend of Mengqi and asked her to go to the apartment where Mengqi lived and checked up on her. On the morning of October 10th at around 9 o'clock, this friend arrived at Mengqi's apartment and FaceTimed to Mengqi's parents. It was then that Elledge told his parents-in-law through this friend's phone that Mengqi had disappeared. After that, Elledge finally began sending messages to Mengqi's friends, inquiring about Mengqi's whereabouts, and reported to the police at 3:30 p.m. that day. According to Elledge, the last time he saw Mengqi was at 11:30 p.m. on October 8th. Earlier that evening, he gave Mengqi a massage in the hope of having sex with her. However, after being rejected, he went to the living room to play video games. It wasn't until 11:30 that he entered the room, and Mengqi was already asleep. On the morning of October 9th at 5 o'clock, he was awakened by the crying of their daughter. When he woke up, he found that Mengqi was no longer home, but her phone and keys were still there. Later, it was confirmed by the police that Mengqi's ID and iPad were also at home, and she left home with only one wallet. When Mengqi disappeared, their daughter had just turned 1 year old and had not completely weaned. Considering Mengqi's personality, the possibility of her running away from home and leaving her daughter without a word was very small. Besides, from her schedule, it seemed that she did not have a plan to leave home. Moreover, Mengqi suddenly wasn't at home. Why didn't Elledge search or inquire and not answered his mother-in-law's phone? On the evening of October 10th, Elledge played video games all night with his brother. On October 15th, 7 days after Mengqi's disappearance, Elledge was interviewed by KRCG News. In the camera, although Elledge was nervous, he appeared happy. If you don't listen to the content of the speech and only look at the expression on his face, you won't believe that his wife had disappeared for several days. Although later in the video, Elledge tried to control his look, a creepy smile still appeared on his face.
I don't know, just the fact that she's missing and that nobody knows anything. It's just the absence of knowledge really kind of makes you want to know, and there's just no way to know.
If you had anything, if she's watching this, what do you want her to know?
If she's watching, I want her to know that I love her and that Anna loves her too. Anna needs to see her mom. She really needs to see her mom. And
on October 29th, the police searched the apartment where Mengqi and Elledge lived and found Elledge's diary, which detailed his dissatisfaction with his wife, and the diary was named Grievance by Elledge. The police also found notes written by Elledge to himself. In his notes, Elledge not only wrote down how he should respond to police inquiries, answer media interviews, but also reminded himself not to use the past tense to describe Mengqi. But I guess he forgot about this note when interviewed, because he said,
she was a great mother the whole way.
Although the police did not find any bloodstains in the apartment, it couldn't rule out the possibility of Mengqi being killed by, for example, poisoning and suffocation. On November 6, 2019, considering that no one had received any information from Mengqi, that she had not withdrawn any money or used any credit cards, and that Mengqi's disappearance was not in line with her personality and life plan, the police determined that Mengqi's disappearance was related to murder and listed Elledge as number 1 suspect. Although the police had been investigating and searching for Mengqi's body through various means, they did not find anything until March 25, 2021, when a hiker discovered a highly osteogenic human body at Rockbridge Memorial State Park. Near the body, the police found Mengqi's personal belongings, such as her driver license and credit cards. Through DNA and dental records comparison, the forensic team finally confirmed that this was Mengqi. Due to the high degree of bone whitening of Mengqi's body, forensic doctors could only determine that she died of murder and couldn't determine the specific cause of death. When Mengqi first disappeared, Elledge, who was being interrogated by the police, once made up a ridiculous statement to explain Mengqi's whereabouts. He believed that Mengqi had left her child and returned to China to meet her lover, who she knew online. In his confession, Elledge described himself as an innocent husband who wanted to repair his relationship with his wife, but was betrayed. However, the 12 recordings of their arguments discovered on Elledge's phone revealed to us what kind of person Elledge is. The recordings covered the period from May to August 2019. The recordings showed that during their arguments, Elledge sounded aggrieved and placed the blame on his wife. When Mengqi spoke, he interrupted her with insults and prevented her from speaking. He belittled Mengqi, saying that her point was wrong and had no value to consider and insult her intelligence, saying that she was stupid and she was inferior to him because she was a woman. He also declared to her that he was the man of the house and she should obey him like she treated God. He also belittled Mengqi's parents, Chinese culture, and so on. The recordings pointed to a toxic marriage.
What the is the matter with you? Brainless. You think you're so empowered because of this society. You're still just a woman. You know how I conquer nature? I kill it. I grab its head and break its neck. That's how you conquer nature.
If you're interested in the analysis of how Elledge controlled and gaslighted Mengqi, please leave a comment. After the police discovered Mengqi's body, Elledge changed his confession. He claimed that on the evening of October 8th, after their argument, he pushed Mengqi twice, causing her head to hit the kitchen countertop. Elledge said that he went out to cool down later. When he returned home, Mengqi was already asleep, and he also went to bed. Later, at 5 a.m. on October 9th, he was awakened by his daughter's crying and realized that Mengqi was dead. Elledge said that after Mengqi's death, he panicked and did not make the right decision, instead dumping her body. But the prosecution believed that Mengqi died of Elledge's premeditated murder. Due to the significant difference in physique between Elledge and Mengqi, it is likely that Elledge strangled Mengqi during the so-called massage. Unfortunately, as Mengqi's body was highly ossified, there was no evidence to prove the specific cause of her death. Prosecutors speculated that the reason why Elledge murdered Mengqi was because he did not want to pay alimony after the divorce. Before the incident, Elledge had repeatedly told Mengqi during arguments that he wanted a divorce. He felt that Mengqi and his daughter had dragged him down and ruined his dream of earning good money. He wanted a quick divorce and not to afford tens of thousands bucks of alimony. In addition, I think it is also possible that Elledge murdered Mengqi to seize her property. At the time of the incident, Elledge and Mengqi was provided by Mengqi's parents, and Mengqi had some savings. The apartment was rented by Mengqi, and the car that Elledge drove was also owned by Mengqi. Leaving Mengqi meant that Elledge would lose both his car and residence. But if Mengqi disappeared, he could continue to use these. Elledge was ultimately convicted of second-degree murder and recommended a 28-year sentence. The next case you may have heard of before, but what you may not know is the behavior of the victim's boyfriend after the murder. In August 2022, female dentist Lily Shu was shot dead on the streets of Oakland, USA. At first, it had been widely believed that this murder was caused by robbery or racial hatred. Unexpectedly, the police later released their investigation results, and the truth was shocking. On the afternoon of August 21st, 2022, Lili Xu's boyfriend Nelson Chia drove her to a massage parlor. This is the surveillance video from the time of the crime.
The victim vehicle, a black Mercedes, pulling up. You can see the white Lexus pulls out to follow the victim. The victim, Dr. Lily Shu, had a massage appointment across the street. The massage owner told Simon her longtime boyfriend was the one that set up the appointment the day before. In the video, a gunman gets out of the Lexus passenger seat, runs over to the Mercedes passenger side, and shoots Dr. Shu 3 times. All of that within 5 seconds. Simon told investigators the gunman never demanded or gave Dr. Shu time to hand over money.
Nelson held his girlfriend in his arms until the ambulance arrived. Xu was fatally shot twice in the back and was taken to the hospital before dying that night. Nielsen choked with sobs in subsequent interviews and was too devastated to speak several times.
How much I appreciated and loved her, and was very special. Literally all her businesses came from referral after referral after referral because people trusted her and her working. I ran around the side of the car and she was on the ground. She was semi-conscious but not able to really respond or speak.
On September 1st, Xu's funeral was held in a church. At the funeral, Nelson, who had been dating Xu for over 15 years, gave a speech and sang the song "You'll Never Walk Alone" to Xu, representing his grief. Nielsen's singing was deeply moving.
Walk on, with hope in your heart, and you'll never walk alone.
On October 22nd, Nielsen organized a Lily Shu memorial concert with ticket prices ranging from $50 to $200. At that time, everyone did not know that Nielsen was the murderer, but many people said that the concert he organized was like a personal show for him, held to satisfy his own performance desire, and had little to do with commemorating Xu. After investigation, the police found that the person who shot Xu was Hashim Basin, and Basin confessed that he was hired to kill. The hirer promised him a large sum of money as long as he killed Xu. And this hirer was 73 years old, boyfriend Nelson, who had been dating Xu for over 15 years. The police said in an interview with reporters, Nielsen and Basin had been discussing murder details through phones since the month before Xu's murder. From the content of the communication, it could be seen that Nielsen hired a murderer to kill Xu for financial reason. On the early morning of October 28th, the police arrested 73-year-old Nelson and 33-year-old Besson. Nielsen was being held in a single cell in Santa Rita jail. At 4:30 p.m., Nielsen committed suicide by hanging himself in the cell. The last murder we're going to talk about is Zhou Kailiang, who killed his parents. In March 2013, the parents of 29-year-old Joe Kailiang in Hong Kong both disappeared. Afterwards, Joe Kailiang released a video for missing parents on television media, posted on Facebook for assistance, and actively cooperated with the police investigation, hoping to make every effort to find his parents. However, his strange smile in the video exposed everything. Joe's parents had been living with their single sons in an old apartment during their lifetime. On the evening of March 1st, 2013, Joe's parents did not go home. Joe told his older brother that he had brunch with his parents at noon. At 2 p.m., his parents took a cross-border bus to the mainland, but did not tell him the specific destination city. In the next few days, the brothers didn't receive any news from their parents, and their phones were turned off. The brothers asked all their relatives and friends, but had no clue. So on March 6th, they called the police. The police checked the entry and exit records and found that the old couple had never left Hong Kong. On March 11th, the brothers contacted a media outlet and invited them to come home to take a video of their search for their parents. Joe looked calm and had clear thinking when he was interviewed. He stated that his parents' financial situation was stable and the family had almost no debt. They had been missing for over a week, but their family had never received any phone calls from the kidnappers. Therefore, he believed that the disappearance of his parents was not related to money, but more likely due to an unexpected incident. He analyzed that due to their parents' preference for outdoor hiking, they may choose to walk on remote paths. He speculated that his parents might accidentally slip or fall while climbing, and he hoped that climbers could pay attention to the situation in the mountainous area. At the end of the interview, Joe regretfully said, "We have done everything we can." On March 12th, the brothers posted a search note on Facebook, hoping that if anyone met an elderly couple, they could contact them. The brothers sought help from society through various media outlets, and the police were also conducting the investigation. According to Joe's statement, he and his parents separated near Langhaofang around 14 o'clock on March 2nd. However, the police repeatedly watched surveillance videos around Langhaofang and did not see their figures at all. The parents left their apartment at 11:19 a.m. on March 1st and never returned home, while it was Joe who went out with them at that time. After leaving home, they three took a bus together to Dajiao Tsui and then entered the Haixing building. However, at 12 o'clock, Joe left the Haixing building alone, while his parents no longer appeared outside the building. This made the police suspect that Joe had been lying. With the exposure of Joe in an interview, many people found his eyes flickering, especially when answering questions. He even laughed. Therefore, more and more people were beginning to believe that there was a connection between Joe and his parents' disappearance. On March 14th, 2013, the police once again requested the brothers to go to the police station for questioning. The older brother's statement remained unchanged, while Joe kept talking about his personal experience and family relationships, but avoided discussing the situation with his parents on March 2nd. Later that day, he admitted to killing his parents in an online chat group. That night, someone in the group reported it to the police. At 7:05 a.m., the Hong Kong police knocked on the door of the Zhou family and arrested Zhou Kailiang on charges of murder. Joe immediately admitted that he had killed his parents, and his brother beside him was extremely shocked. Judging whether a person is guilty depends on evidence, but looks, expressions, and behaviors often give them away. This is the case collection for this video. If you are interested in any of these 4 cases, please leave a comment so that I can make a more comprehensive and detailed video of this case separately.